Welcome to the Women Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Amanda, the Money Healer, and today's episode is coming from our live webinars where you get to hang out with me and other women entrepreneurs to learn about money mindset, manifestation, and business scaling strategies and get your questions answered. To join us, go to thewomenentrepreneurpodcast.com where you'll see the link to register for the webinars at the top of the page. Can't wait to see you there. Hello, gorgeous NFA Money Mamas. It's time for another biz breakdown session on the Woman Entrepreneur Podcast. And today I have on a VA who is just starting out. It sounds like we're going to find out more about Ashley. And we met on Instagram and she said, awesome, I would love to come on for a biz breakdown session. So she's here. We're going to talk about lead gen and business journey, highlight her business so you can get to know her. And before that, if it's your first time here, I'm Dr. Amanda, the Money Healer. And if you don't know anything about me, I'm known for going from food stamps to building a six-figure business fast, continuing to scale my business. I love what I do in the world, and I love teaching other people how to live in their zone of genius and make money from that place. So that's what I'm all about. And all of this has to do with breaking through your unconscious money blocks, mastering your mindset so that you can really fine-tune yourself in order to make whatever amount of money you want. Let's get started with today's show. Welcome to the show, Ashley Eagan.
Thank you.
So fun to have you here. I love getting to meet people on Instagram, in social media world. And then all of a sudden we just get to meet and hang out. And she's all the way in warm, sunny Florida. And I'm in cold, sunny Colorado.
Yes, we're having these. It's so nice.
Yes. Okay, let's start with this. I always like to start with this question. If I could give you a magic wand and you could create anything you want to create in your business in 2023, what would that be?
Financial freedom, more flexibility, probably. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So financial freedom. And would that be through your business or other versions of income as well?
If it could be solely my business, that would be great. I also have a full-time job at a corporate place. So ideally, my goal when I started my VA business was, let's just start a little side thing. I'm a single mom, so, extra income is always great. So let's just venture out. Because I've been in the medical field for 10 plus years. I've done project management, I've done operation management. So I've done, I've worked with, really high up people for years and years. I started off, worked my way up. I have a bachelor's in business management. So I have the business mindset. So I was like, all right, let's just start my VA business and see where it goes. And then, if I could just get extra income, that would be great. But if I could, grow it to make what I make at my corporate job and I could leave that and get that flexibility, that'd be amazing.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so that was the other question I was going to ask you. So you answered it in some ways, but that financial freedom piece sounds to me like work from home, make a good living from home, and have more flexibility with your time.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, awesome. That's amazing. So currently for your corporate job, is it in the medical field?
Yes.
Okay.
I work for a physical therapy company currently.
Okay. Awesome. Do you enjoy it?
I
Yeah.
do. I love my coworkers. I get so burnt out, and you just get so like caught up in the monotony of it. Like I feel like I've been doing this type of work for so long, I could probably do it in my sleep. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I have such a learner's brain, like I always want to be growing and learning. I'm always looking for advancement. And at my current company, the only positions I could potentially move up into are positions where people pretty much retire or they pass away. Like they're just those positions people settle into and they're comfortable and they stay in them for 20, 30 plus years. Um, so, I mean, that'd be awesome if I could be in a position to get up into those things. So we'll see. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. and
Okay.
for a long time. So
Okay. So it sounds like like you're the learner part is the drive or the pull into entrepreneurship is gives you more
absolutely,
variety and that continued growth edge.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Okay. Will you share so far what you've done to like where are you at currently in your in the VA business?
Yeah, yeah. So I started the VA business in at the end of October. So I had never really knew even what a VA was. I was just looking up, different side things I could get into. And actually, Erin Mortensen, I come across her. I loved her whole vibe and her whole story. And after I she was putting on some like little master class or whatever, so I watched that and I was like, oh my god, I can totally do this. So I was like, all right, I'll start my VA business. I was watching all of these free classes and trying to learn, all the things that you can do as a VA. um I found other people, Sam and Joe, they're another very successful VA business. I, took some of their courses. So I've been trying to teach myself, as much as I can. So I launched my business. I started my business page. Um, and then as I started going, I'm like, oh my God, this is so broad. Like, who knew it was so big?
Yeah.
So, you know, so I've been trying to just be, grow my brand, and be consistent with my posting and kind of get my name out there. Um, word of mouth. I joined Facebook groups and, I've had a lot of conversations with people. I've had a lot of leads and, it's a lot. Like I feel like a small little fish in this big pond. And I'm like, okay, so what can I do? Do I need to niche down? Like, what can I do to kind of set myself apart? Where are my strengths? I saw some people that were like, okay, I'll just focus on like wedding photography or just go for realtors or, these type
Yep.
of things. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know that I necessarily want to niche down to a certain industry per se, because technically, I don't want to limit myself to just that scope either. So, it's kind of a challenge, trying to figure out what's my thing, what's something that I'm going to have passion about and that I feel like I can be um, you know, passionate about it and creative with it and that be my thing.
Okay. Awesome. Good clarifications. And I always like to, ask what the background journey is, why you're doing it, what excites you, and then helping, step into zone of genius. I would think we can definitely talk about the niching down part first. Let's go there. I would say that in my zone of genius, when you're stepping into your zone of manifestation, there are four levels or phases that you go through in business development to get there. So the first phase is manic imposter zone. So it's where you're like super excited about the new business,
Yeah.
and yet you don't really know what you're doing. And
Yeah.
so a lot of people, they start out there and they're like, I like this and this and this and this, and I'm
Yeah.
so excited. And then they're also like, what the heck do I do step by step to actually build a business? And
Mhm.
then you start to move into the second zone, which is the undercharge over deliver zone. So usually people in this zone tend to get stuck in imposter syndrome and they go, I'm going to help everybody and I'm probably not going to charge enough because I don't really know how to value myself yet. And so about I'd say 80 to 90% of people get stuck in this place. And
Oh,
so what happens is you spin your wheels a lot and you get into this burnout phase where you're like, I'm not really making any money and I'm
yeah.
not really enjoying this the way I thought I would. And
Right.
I would love some help. Zone 3 is where you start to value yourself more and you start to let go of that scattered brand identity and you start to actually focus a brand and you start to delegate some. So this is where you're starting to move into team building and delegation because you're growing and you're starting to understand, oh, I got to be really clear about my brand, who I'm targeting, and lead gen. And then your mindset is starting to up level. Zone
Yeah.
4, zone of manifestation, is where you're having money come in easily, leads come in easily because people know exactly who you are and you've gotten really good at 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 valuing your zone of genius and knowing exactly what it is that you love to do. So I'd say, you're somewhere between zone 1 and 2 just because you just started.
Yeah.
And so, it's that excitement around it, and also the like, uh-oh, what do I do?
Yeah.
Does that resonate?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like, it's one of those things like I I don't necessarily have so much of like a, mindset. Like I'm super confident in my abilities. I'm a super quick learner. Like I'm a self starter. Like I'm all of those things. So I'm like, I like it's one of those things. I'm like, once I land a couple of clients, I feel like it's gonna be like a no brainer. I'll be able to kind of be like, okay, I definitely am going okay and doing this. I'll do this, but I'm not doing this. I'll
Yeah,
kind
good.
of prove. Um, so I think it's just a matter of I. So this is my other thing. I know that at some point, like once my business is grown, I want to have somebody take over my social media.
Yep.
I I have a love-hate relationship with it, and I love technology. However, I'm not a big like look at me, like let me just jump on these lives and do all this stuff. Like I'm just not that. I'm more of a private person. I'm more reserved. Like
Yeah.
it totally takes me out of my comfort zone, a lot of content that I put out. And, um,
Can I
so
ask you a question then? I'm
yeah,
curious for you. Do you think, and I would imagine it's because the people you learned from taught you that you should put yourself out there on social media is why you think that's what you need to do. Is that true?
yeah, yes, in a way, yes. I feel like a lot of the advice I've been get, people that I've spoken with and trainings that I've seen, they've made it such a big thing to, do these reels and, put these videos out and I'm like, that's totally like I know I have to put myself out there a little bit. I'm like, but I don't really know that I want to do all these edits and all these videos and do all these lives. I'm like,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I want to remind everyone listening, and people have heard me say this a lot who listen to me regularly. You can't get what you want doing what you don't want to do. And so always remember, anytime you're doing something that feels like a have to or you hate it, it's going to cause a lot of resistance, which then causes manifestation time to take longer. And
yeah,
so what I mean by that is like, are there any things that you can identify that you do enjoy doing that you could connect with people who would be candidates for what it is you offer that doesn't include social media, just to let your brain stretch ideas and think like, wait, do I have to do social media? Says who and why? That
right.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So how are you currently attracting people to talk to in order to land a client?
Um, so, um, on community groups and Facebook,
Okay.
so like local, also word of mouth,
Okay.
and I am posting consistently.
Okay.
So, and
Okay.
so I've had people, connect with me. Um, and then there's this also like you get hit up from so many different people, and some of it very sketchy. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, can you give me an example, like, what you mean by that? Like them trying to sell you something or
yes, or, just creepers that just want to get
okay.
you on video or do, like inappropriate stuff. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah, of course.
it-
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
So here's something that's really interesting. In your position, I think it'd be way easier to do direct outreach to people than it is to attract through posting. It's like when we offer a really clear service, the easiest way to find people is to get very clear about what the service is, create a package of some sort, start talking to people about it through a direct marketing strategy instead of thinking like, oh, the perfect person's going to see my social media post and reach out and do a consult. I've been putting stuff on social media for years, and I put a lot of content out, and I don't know if I've ever had someone reach out that way. It's
Okay.
always me doing direct outreach. Like you're here right now because I did direct outreach with you, right?
Yeah, correct.
So people make the mistake of thinking I'm just going to post a whole bunch of stuff on social media and somehow I'm magically going to get people asking me to work with me.
Yeah.
Does that ring true?
Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So let's come up with some ideas for you to first, I want you to think about, when you say you could help anyone, that
Yeah.
is true. And yet, unless you niche down some, it's really hard to know in your mind who you're looking for because you're like your avatar is foggy and foggy targets are hard to hit, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
when you're confused, the people who are coming to you are confused.
Yeah.
So that's not a good sales strategy because we just go like, hopefully they'll read my mind about what I offer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we want to get really clear. And so, tell me some of the things that you would love to do as a VA. Like list the top 5 things that would make you feel excited to wake up in the morning and be like, yes, I get to do this all day because those are zone of genius clues.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, so far I focused on, let's just start. It was like a general VA admin. So let me, help you schedule appointments. If you need help with travel planning, calendar management, email management, reports, if, some data entry stuff, like basically almost like a personal assistant, executive assistant type of thing, just to take things off of your plate. So, like, as a business owner, you have certain, projects that you want to make a reality, or, you need somebody to brainstorm with, and just somebody to help take the load off of you to focus on the more important things. Um, and ideally, essentially, those are the roles in my career wise that I've been really successful with. I was a project manager for 9 sites. I worked directly with the COO of operations, like I was the person. I'm good with operational type of, management things. Great
Okay.
stations. So like those type of things are, I was, okay, well, those are the things that I know I'm good at. Let me
Okay.
start there, and then I can always learn and grow.
Okay. So here's something to think about. This is for you and everyone listening. Are the people that would need like you said good at project management, good with operations,
Yeah.
are the people that you would be in an executive EA for hanging out on the places that you're on social media?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I feel like everybody is on social media. Everybody is always about referrals. And
What's your favorite platform that you use the most social media wise?
um probably Facebook groups, the community groups, or where
Okay, and
it
will you
kind of
give an example of one? Like, what's one that you hang out on? Just so I wanna know 'cause,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
curious.
Oh, we have a local one called the Trinity Hub. And basically, all businesses in the community and even residents in the community, like it's like your one stop place, where people will jump in there for referrals. Hey, do you know somebody that does this? Or, hey, I'm looking for somebody for this. So, you have all these groups in the area. And I also,
Okay,
okay, and they're local. So, if it's people that, want, they want to meet with me in person, if they wanted to do that. And, I mean, I'm strictly remote, but, like for the first visit, if they wanted that more face to face connection, just to, whatever, make them feel more comfortable, I, I feel like the pandemic has kind of made remote work way more prominent now.
yeah,
um Whereas, it wasn't a thing before. So uh
yeah. Okay. I ask this because I think a lot of times we're fishing in the wrong pond. And we're
yeah.
thinking from a perspective of like, uh, I've been told I should do social media, so I post stuff here, but then I forget to stop and even think if that's where people who would be hiring me would hang out. In your case, especially because you're planning to be digitally working with somebody, I mean, really, you do have a big ocean of people.
Right.
And
Yeah.
yet I would get really clear about the avatar. So in your case, and this is when we have scattered brand identity and we're not sure who we're targeting, we want to get really clear. First, we think, what are the things I bring to the table, the gifts and the things I would enjoy doing? And where are those people hanging out? And how could I talk to them directly? And what
Yeah.
are their pain points? So avatar is always about what are the pain points? Like they're feeling overwhelmed, they have too much on their plate, they're feeling stressed out, they're looking for someone to help them be more organized and get shit done, basically, right? And so in my mind, I'd be thinking, who is that person and how can I directly target them? Like
Yeah.
I would, if it were me in your position, I would get on LinkedIn and I would start using the search and I would directly create a real, and you don't want to be salesy and gross because people get a lot of sales stuff, but it could be something like, hey, just so you know, and I've gotten these emails from people a lot. It could be in a cold email marketing campaign. So you could find a profile of someone who you're like, this person probably needs a VA. And then you find their email and you email them and just say, like, hey, I'm doing some outreach. I have this business. I know that in your position, you're really stressed. If this doesn't resonate, just, tell me to stop talking to you. If it does, let's set up a chat and see if I can help you. That's
Right.
not pushy at all, but you're actually using your time really effectively instead of hoping that someone's just going to magically find you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would that be something that freaks you out to do, or does it feel good to do something like that?
Um, no, I think, wording it like that, would be fine. Like you said, you don't want to come off salesy, because I mean, even as a VA, you get hit up so much, like
Yeah. Yeah.
pushy salespeople all the time. So yeah, I definitely don't want to come across as that. I want to be seen as somebody that's just trying to help you. I'm not trying to,
Yeah.
just cold call you and
Right. Well, and here's the thing, for the right person at the right time, you're a godsend, right? I always tell people to think of themselves as I am water in the desert. So for example, like I I've hired a few people recently from an exact strategy of that where they emailed me and they said, "Hey, and the other." They listed what they can do and I was like, "That sounds amazing. Let's have a meeting." Thank God they came into my email today. So I can't see any reason that that's bothering somebody when, and some people, it's a numbers game in some ways, but it's about clear direct marketing. I think we get really, it's funny to say this because I'm a mindset and manifestation coach, right? And I 100% believe that you can attract through your dynamic magnetism. Dynamic magnetism includes being very clear about what it is that you desire, right? And in that clarity, you go, I know exactly the type of person who needs to work with me, and I'm willing to put myself out there and talk to them and see what transpires, right? Like, let the universe bring you the opportunities. And what will happen is you'll notice, oh, I'll be in action with maybe 5 DMs that are direct or 5 emails. And you never know what's going to happen. You be consistent with it and you get really targeted. And I would be shocked. I want you to like message me back in a month from now and say, I got my first 2 clients in this using this strategy because I guarantee you it'll work. Does
okay.
that make sense? And then share with me if you have any questions like about what to say or how to define avatar because I know that everyone here listening right now needs to hear this. I think a lot of people have like it's called the spray and pray approach, right? You just like put stuff out there and hope something happens. We got to get clear with our strategy and
Right.
clear with what we're focused on, right? And so that's what this helps you do. And the practice of talking about it and putting yourself out there works really well.
Yeah. Yeah. And the whole avatar thing, it's funny that you word it that way. Jenna Kutcher actually same thing.
Yeah.
That's her thing as well. That's what she said. That ideal person. And give them a name and like be specific and you know
Exactly.
and
Yep.
same thing. And I was like, oh, I never even thought of it. It's a really good way to.
Yeah.
But for me, I was like, okay, well, how can I be more specific with that? And like
Yeah, so where you get specific with that is you want to when I ask like what is it that you enjoy doing, it's scheduling appointments, calendar, data entry, reports, executive EA stuff, like write those down and that's what you tell people you're doing. And that way when you get the right, when you get into the right mailbox, people are like, "Oh my god, that's exactly what I need right now." And you want to be thinking in the mindset of who can pay for my services. You don't want to be reaching out to people who don't have the financial means to pay for it because you're just going to feel frustrated and rejected and it causes resistance because you're not talking to the right people. Promise you, I don't know how many clients you need. If you were, what do you have an idea of how many clients you would need for you to be able to leave your full-time job?
Probably, as long as they were like reoccurring, so
Yeah.
I have my pricing, my packages and everything set. So as long as they could be reoccurring, probably maybe 5 or 6, maybe.
Okay. Okay. So get clear there first. So
Yeah.
that's get really clear. Here's something that's really interesting in manifestation is the universe abhors a vacuum. I need, 6 people to fill this place of taking over my income. Then the universe is very clear. Here's the path. Here's what you need to do. When you're like, I'm not really sure, then you're sending mixed messages. So
Yeah.
get really clear, like what is my package or program and how many people do I need? And then start letting your brain come up with solutions. Where do these people hang out? What would this package look like? How would I talk to people about it? And really imagine the right people. And so in that, it's a
Yeah.
really targeted approach. And instead of this is what I see people do, they'll spend an hour or 2 hours doing a post and then hoping someone will contact them. And it's like it reaches maybe sometimes 5 people, you know, and then
Yes.
you're like, why isn't my business growing? And it's like, well, you're not in front of enough people and it's not a direct targeted approach. Whereas if you were to send 5 emails a day or 5 direct messages to business owners a day, do you see the difference?
Yes. 100%. Yeah. Cause like people are like, okay, well, spend a couple hours. Let's create this week of content and pick the right hashtags and all this stuff. And I'm like, just the thought of that makes me more stressed than anything. What world?
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because I think we live in a world where that's what a lot of people recommend that, and that's where they start because it's something that's clear in their mind to do, and
Yeah.
it's better than doing nothing, but it's also can be a waste of time, which then causes you to feel frustrated because you don't really get the results you want out of it. And then you're sitting there questioning yourself and you're feeling like, well, what am I supposed to do? And so it's like go back to the simple, direct strategy of talking to people who potentially need you instead of hoping someone's going to find you through a post. That usually isn't even where the people are hanging out, to be honest. Like it depends. Like I've grown an audience, but it's taken me, I mean, I'm 5 years in my business and I've been since day one posting stuff. And I knew that that was a long term expert platform building strategy. It wasn't my way to get clients and it never has been my direct way to get clients. Like I always, when I started my business, I was on food stamps and I went to networking events and I talked to the people. And, so get on networking events, so just think about direct conversations. And I think about this a lot. Like, what's the fastest path to cash is always how I'm thinking in my business. What's the fastest path to cash with the least amount of time and money in? That is high ROI action, right? And that's what makes you feel good because you go like, hey, I sent 5 emails and I got one person to schedule a consult. That's awesome. It feels good, right? Versus I spent this whole week stressing out about social media posts and nothing happened, right?
Yes. And so I went and did a BNI meeting one day.
Nice.
So when I first launched my business, I had a couple of people that are in BNI and they reached out and they're like, this, BNI would be a great avenue for you. So I went to it. It was like at the worst possible time, but it was like on 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was like, I got to get my daughter to school. I got to get to work. Like I had all these things. So I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll rearrange it. I went and I was like, it was totally out of my comfort zone. Once again, I've got to get up and talk to all this room full of people. But I walked out of there like so pumped. I was like, I'm literally in a room full of business people
Yeah.
that just want to network and just send each other referrals. I was like, this is ideally where I need to be. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
financial position to invest in BNI, like I need to be doing networking events and being out there. It it was so like inspiring for me. I was like I was like, how can I make this work? How can I, you
I
know,
love it. Yes. Okay,
how,
Ashley, that is so important for you to listen to. Like
yeah,
you're lighting up when you talk about it and you're saying it was so and you even use the word inspiring.
Yeah.
You want to follow the inspired paths because that's how magnetism attracts to you what you desire, right? When you're doing stuff you don't enjoy, it causes resistance, stuckness, and frustration, which pushes money and opportunities away. And so always listen to yourself there. And I'm not saying don't have a social media strategy. You can still post some, but maybe you drop it to once a week and then instead spend your time going to a networking event. Just be really focused in your strategies and know exactly why you're doing them instead of just doing them because someone told you should or because you're not sure what to do. So, in the case of not being sure what to do, good for you for getting on this session because you need help, right? You need help
Yeah.
from someone who's been there and done it. And that's important too. Like, always be, this is where you want to be discerning about who you're listening to and think, if this person's telling me to do this, but it gives me anxiety and makes me feel like freaked out or stressed out, that might not be the path for me.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So funny because in in my everyday life, I'm like always if I have to second guess it, then that's probably my answer. You
Yes.
I'm like my whole VA journey so far has had me second guessing every little step because I'm like it's such an unknown thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So just remember, go with what you know. So it sounds to me like you got inspired by hearing about being a VA and you thought, whoa, there are so many opportunities here. Now you're stepping into the part of actually implementing it. So go with what's fun for you. That to me, the fact that you just said that BNI event lit you up and caused you to feel inspired, do more of that. And look in your local area, get on meetups. And do you know meetups?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So get on meetups and see if there's entrepreneurial meetings. BNI is great. The Chamber of Commerce is great.
Yeah.
Like, just start thinking, like, how could I do some more of those things? And often they'll have different times of events and things like that, so you can check them out. And I know when you're a single mom and you have a full time job, some of that is time prohibitive, but there's also online events. So start thinking if you enjoyed that and it caused you to feel good. The that's the door opening for you to know to take more steps in that direction.
For
Does that
sure.
make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. I'm so excited. Tell me, from our conversation, what are some action steps that you'll take to get your first few clients?
Yeah. So I'll definitely focus on, where are more entrepreneurs that, actually do the market research and, find where I need to be rather than focusing on all the stress areas like I posting on social media and all that. But
Yeah,
yeah, and actually reaching out to people and having those conversations. I think, that's my biggest thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you feel I would say another addition to this is get really clear. And when you say do the market research, that's I think what you were saying. It's like market research, get clear on avatar, and
Yeah.
then speak to their pain points.
Yeah.
So it's like to me, when you're talking about being an executive VA, it's people who are overwhelmed. They feel like they have too much on their plates and they want someone reliable to help them scale their business,
Yeah.
and they need a good person who they can trust and who can take the tasks off of their plate that they're not enjoying doing. And so it's like come up with something fun in that way of like you're the go-to person for that. And so yeah, let's see here, we're gonna put on here. I got to pull it up. So, for anyone listening to this, and you do work remotely, so you can work with any type of business owner. And I do want you to get more targeted. Like, I don't want you to. Typically, when we say we can work with anyone, it's hard to find people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would get clearer than that,
Okay.
and say like I have on here VA for entrepreneurs because when I went to check your stuff out, I wasn't clear who you worked with other
Yeah.
than just entrepreneurs. So I want you to get more focused
Okay.
there.
Okay.
And that way you'll have a better gauge of like where are these people hanging out.
Yeah.
And I think BNI, that absolutely would work. That's very workable. So is the chamber. So is any entrepreneurial social meetup. There are ones online there to just look up. If you go into even LinkedIn, you could look up networking groups. You could go into Facebook and look up networking groups, and there's some awesome resources to hang out with other entrepreneurs and then just be really targeted there. When you do your commercial, say exactly who you're looking for and the reasons why, and then how to get a hold of you.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So share with everyone where they can find you.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram. My handler is at virtual Ashley. You can DM me. I have a link to set up a Zoom meeting if you want to do a face-to-face Zoom call. But yeah, DM me.
Awesome. Okay, so for everyone listening, it's on Instagram, virtual Ashley. And Ashley, just in case you can't spell it, is Ashley. So
Yeah.
virtual Ashley on Instagram. And she's looking for people to help. So reach out to her. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been awesome to have you. I love getting to talk to women in your position where they're just, it's like that excitement phase, and you're like, and now what do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's something new.
Yeah. Well, and you've been in the game only 4 months, so I'm sure you're in a very steep learning curve.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, let's get you into zone 4 as fast as possible, at least to zone 3.
Right.
Yes. So, for all the ladies out there listening, you all know that if you get a lot out of these sessions, I hang out with my NFA Money Mamas every single week, and this is what we jam out about: how to break through your money blocks and how to create more money in your business. I do both coaching, consulting, and we also mastermind. So, it is like the place to be if you are scaling your business. Go to NFA Money Mamas, MAMAS.com. NFAmoneymamas.com. Hang out with me on a consult, and we'll see if it's a good fit. And that's it. Thanks for being here, everyone. Until next time, I'm sending you hugs and NFA money making high fives. Thank you for listening to the Woman Entrepreneur Podcast. If you want to learn actionable strategies that magnetize money as a woman entrepreneur, go to thewomanentrepreneurpodcast.com to register for an upcoming webinar. These are interactive webinars where you'll get to hang out with me and podcast fans live for powerful lessons about money mindset, manifestation, and business scaling strategies. Plus, there's live Q&A to get all of your questions answered. Again, go to thewomanentrepreneurpodcast.com and click on the button to register for a live webinar now.